And welcome everyone out there. Welcome to the Rubberband Roundtable and Q&A for this lovely Monday afternoon. Not quite as sunny in Melbourne as it was yesterday. So we've just been in the back room talking about how depressing it was that we opened the window and it was cold today. But really excited you could all join us today. Today we're talking about how to enhance your employer brand and candidate experience through the video interview process. And we have Josh Ransome, the Senior Talent Partner from Australia Payments Plus. And we also have Vieple joining us today. So we're going to have a really great conversation about the partnership Josh has with Vieple and more about video interviewing in general. So I think probably the best place to start before I introduce the panel is to tell you a little bit about Vieple. Vieple has really become a mainstream recruitment tool in the technology stack for many corporate, government and university organisations in recent years. So really timely that we talk about it at the moment. It is at the forefront of this stack with their video interviewing platform. They've been involved for over 10 years in the Australian market. Vieple is 100% Australian owned and operated, but it does have representation in New Zealand, Hong Kong, North America, South Africa, and United Kingdom. So anyone that's watching or watching the playback that are in those countries, Vieple does have a footprint there as well. Since the beginning, Vieple has been working locally with some leading businesses, some of their key clients being Peabody, Fisher and Paykel, Audi, and Coles, as well as some leading government departments as well. Vieple saves time and money in the recruitment process by being easy to use and easy to follow. So we'll be hearing more about that soon. And 15% of Vieple's revenue actually is reinvested back into their core technology. So with their own on-site tech team, growing and expanding their capabilities, and something I'm really, really passionate about when local innovation is supporting further innovation in our industry. So really excited to have Vieple with us today. So on that note, we might start with you, Amy Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us. Amy, for the past 15 years, has worked in the talent industry. I know a lot of you out there will be familiar with Amy. She's been an account manager or in customer success positions, including the last 6 heading up customer success at Vieple. Passionate about finding innovative solutions for talent professionals to find talent faster, smarter, and more economically. So welcome, Amy. And let's soften it up a little bit, though. We've heard all about your professional experience. Tell us, what are your passions in life? What are your hobbies? What do you enjoy? Tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, I have 2 young children, a girl and a boy, 6 and 5. So they keep me pretty busy. But I love singing and dancing and cooking. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to driving Jason crazy on the bus at the Christmas party for our winery tour with my karaoke Christmas carols. So
and there we go. Anyone out there who's not sure if they can last 45 minutes today in the round table, Amy will do a performance at the end. So be prepared. She's got her karaoke machine ready. Thank you so much for joining us today, Amy. Up next, we have Jason Goldsmith, who's also been involved in the HR technology industry, but for even longer, for over 10 years now. He's worked for Vieple for almost 5 years. He's presently their head of business development, head of new business. I'm sorry. And prior to this, he had a national role with a HR tech startup, as well as positions in talent acquisition, business development, and key account management. So tell us a little bit about you on a personal level, Jason.
Nice intro, Edan. Thanks so much. I am getting there in terms of sleep deprivation, in terms of when the World Cup's on. That's pretty much me. And being held in the middle of the world, it's been a little difficult to follow, but I think the 6 a.m. game times have been me, and both my kids have been getting involved as well in terms of getting up, watching the Socceroos. Unfortunately, I didn't quite make it through the knockout stages, but now would need to find a new country. So I'm open to any suggestions from anyone of you I can follow.
All right. Well, then, and I must say, chat box is open. So anyone's got some suggestions for Jason, pop it in. Any questions along the way, pop them in there as well. And finally, joining us today is Josh Ransome. Josh has been involved in recruitment for well over a decade. He has worked across the Adelaide, Sydney and Melbourne markets for private firms as well as in-house teams. Josh prides himself on ensuring that the candidate has a positive experience regardless of the outcome. He's used Vieple previously at Media. Currently utilises the platform in his role as a senior talent partner at Australian Payments Plus. Josh, great to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Myself. I'm a little slow on the uptake regarding learning to cook, so I've always struggled to boil water. So now that COVID is well and truly over and I've decided I'll pick up a new hobby, it's learning to cook or being more adventurous with cooking. So I haven't advanced quite far enough to progress from boiling water, but we're getting there slowly.
Fantastic. And cooking's great for you. It's a very great creative outlet. And you know what? I feel that, it is the time that a lot of us are having to step it up with cooking, because during lockdowns, you had the Uber Eats excuse, right? You were like, it's lockdown, we're allowed, there is that.
You have to go back out in your and take off your activewear and everything's a little bit tighter. So it's like, better stop ordering Uber Eats and start cooking healthy dinners again.
Yeah, exactly. And learn how to boil water. So no, nice work, mate. Excellent. Well, so I'm going to start with you, Jason, because I want to know more. Before we get into the details of Vieple, I want to know more about video interviewing. What is video interviewing and how is it utilized?
Sure. In regards to the platform, what video interviewing is generally is a one-way video interview that you're able to send out to create yourself as part of the talent acquisition team and send out to your candidates, and they can do it in their own time. So one of the hard parts now to try and get a phone screen or get a candidate on the line is they don't answer their phone, or you're having to contact them outside of your normal working hours. This time they can do it, when they please. You're able to assess it as well. So it really saves a lot of time and money in that process. You can create your own questions. We integrate with all applicant tracking systems, so you can manage the candidates through from application through to hopefully hire through the process as well. It's quite big in the graduate industry in terms of about 80% of video interviews that form part of a graduate recruitment process. But globally now, video interviews about 60% of the process. Wow. So it's becoming more and more prevalent. So people aren't afraid of the technology. They know what to do. They're used to it. They're able to log into the Vieple platform and answer the questions. So we put around 20,000 candidates through the Vieple platform each month. And we did some numbers and we crunched those, and about 70% of all of our candidates are using a desktop or a laptop to go through the process. So it is mobile enabled, so you can use it on a device, a tablet or a phone, but, it's a job interview. People take it seriously. They sit down, they want to answer the questions, So it's a really great tool to really smarten up the process. You can get to those better candidates quicker. Especially in a candidate short market, it's something that I would recommend people look at if they're not using it already.
Fantastic. So, leading on for that, so I'm keen to hear, Josh, in terms of your experience, because you've used video interviewing in past companies that you've worked for. You're currently using it at Australian Payments Plus. So, tell me, why do you use it?
Yeah. So having used the tool at O and now at AP Plus, there are three key reasons and motivators for me to use the technology, and having used a number of platforms, and not because people are on the call, but certainly hand on heart, it's one of the premier products that I've used. But those three reasons would certainly be candidate experience. It allows candidates to be in almost the right frame of mind. To Jason's point, they can be at home in their space, of an evening, kids are in bed, or they've done what they need to do for the day, so they can be in that frame of mind to answer questions how they would to show their best self. The second point is the hiring manager engagement. So as myself and my team are designing our recruitment process for a specific role, we'll get that hiring manager's input to say, will we move forward with the video interview? And if so, have them involved in the questions. We can then set a reviewer status, so the hiring manager can then review the video once it's completed and then do the culture and skills assessments. And then there's the general pace of the recruitment. And again, to Jason's point, the candidate can be doing it of an evening rather than trying to find a time in my diary to book in a phone interview or Zoom or Teams. So that would be the three key motivators. And when I talk to candidates, the time and the sort of frame of mind and the location flexibility are their biggest drivers for also taking part.
Right. So it's really interesting because I think, you know, we spend so much time talking about candidate experience, and quite often we try and tighten the process and try and make the steps, you know, as few as possible. Like, have you ever had any reservations around the candidate experience? You know, having that step in your process?
Yeah. So I find that for some candidates who are relatively new in their recruitment journey, and that could be just new to industry, or they've been in the one role for some certain amount of time, and they're new on the market, video technology or video interviewing technology is new to them. So there's a slight apprehension. So for me, it's around that general education of, you know, this is what the platform is. I share the Vieple website link so they can actually get to see what the platform is before having to opt in. But then, like any experience, you know, that I try to provide, it will always be candidate centric. So if they need to do a telephone interview or a Teams or Zoom, I'll absolutely make that a priority to accommodate. But yeah, I think overall, you know, from an internal business perspective, we're a fintech organization, so our hiring managers love it. The stakeholders are so engaged with it. But yeah, 95% of candidates are really interested and, you know, find it, you know, an exciting way to be able to do recruitment. And then that last 5% is certainly those that we'll make accommodations for.
Fantastic. So I think those are the two big, you know, the two big themes that we have been really talking about over the last 18 months and 2 years. Candidate experience and employer branding seems to be at the forefront of everyone's mind. So tell me, how does video interviewing, and Vieple more specifically, I suppose, how can having you know, that solution as part of your tech stack, how can it enhance your employer brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So our business is newly formed merger of BPay and FPOS and NPPA. So we're 12 months into our journey as AP Plus. So we're doing the final touches on our own organizational brand, but having Vieple allows us to have our branding, our logo, to create an almost authentic experience for a candidate. So rather than it being Vieple, it's AP Plus on a Vieple platform. I've got the opportunity to video record questions. I have the opportunity to video record an introduction and a conclusion. So again, it's a personalized experience and reflects our brand as an organization wanting to be human-centric. But then allows them, again, from that opt-in, opt-out time to be able to do that video interview when they feel required, that I don't have to be live on the call.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And in terms of the steps in the process, like at what stage do you actually use Vieple? Is it literally only for, you know, once they're through to interview, or where is it in the process, or is it in different stages depending on?
So I use Vieple upfront. So again, when we're engaging with candidates, we're explicitly clear what our recruitment process will look like so that they know that it's coming, and it gives them the opportunity to have a conversation around that. But certainly I'll do the visual vetting of a CV, and then from there, what would technically be my phone screen process, that would be I replicate that or opt in my Vieple interview process rather than the phone screen. So it's done up front. The hiring managers then will watch the video, you know, we'll share comments and consultation, and then from there, the sort of interview shortlist will be designed. Yeah.
Okay. And is it at a different stage for different sort of levels of seniority, or do you keep it pretty much consistent across the board?
I've used it upfront for anything from administration through to general manager and director level. You know, for me, I find it works best then. And then I've had, when you're at third or say, you know, decision-making interviews, if the CEO needs to be involved, I'll then share the video interview for them to watch so that they can walk into that coffee conversation or more the culture fit conversation, having some background on the candidate. So I may get the video interview done up front, but other stakeholders may watch it at different points within the recruitment lifecycle.
Okay. Awesome.
That's pretty typical too for many of our customers. They use it mostly to replace the phone screen because you can review one video interview in under 10 minutes, whereas, you know, a phone screen, you could be on the line for 30. And you might know in the first 5 minutes that that person's not right, but you don't want to feel like you're hurrying them off the phone. So it's great for video interviewing. You can actually bring more people through to that stage than you would if you were phone screening them, because it's so quick to get through the responses. You might bring through people who maybe don't look quite as good on paper, but you're sort of wondering, you're on the fence about, and you can bring them through and filter them through. And then when you're bringing people through face-to-face or for assessment centres, you typically need to bring less through because you've already got a very good understanding of them from the video interview, and therefore the conversion rate to offer is much higher than if you were to have a phone screen and then bring through a whole bunch of people, and, you know, a much lesser percentage of them would make it all the way. So it does... Even though it's another step in the process, it does speed it up quite a lot.
Awesome. I'll open this one up. Sorry, I've been sticking with asking you a million questions. It's like you're on Sale of the Century, Josh. But I just we've had a question come through actually from actually someone that's been a candidate of mine in the past and a friend. Hello, Kelly. But Kelly has just asked whether, and this is for anyone, whether you would use Vieple at an exec level.
Yeah, you certainly use it at an exec level. So at O Media for a state sales director. So you tailor the questions accordingly, and because we had multiple stakeholders involved in that recruitment process, they were able to again watch the video and get their buy-in before me sort of sharing notes. And my notes are on a page, where again, when they're seeing body language and culture, and you can be a little like me, emotive with hands, you're a personality, not just the words on a page.
Fantastic. And Sandra has asked as well, Josh, once the interview is complete, do you add like a rating as the recruiter with notes for the hiring managers? Is that part of the integration with the ATS, or how does that kind of, your thoughts on the video, how does that come to light?
Yeah, absolutely. So the platform has a rating section and comment section. I don't like to share mine, again, not to introduce bias from the other hiring managers and stakeholders who may review that video. So I'll have my thoughts and feelings, and then it's a collective discussion with my hiring leaders after, and then we go back and provide verbal feedback to the candidate as well, just so that they get that full experience of we're progressing you, or in this instance, it's a no now, not a no always, and we're just going to park it.
Yeah.
And oh, sorry, Edan. Has like a group report that tallies up everybody's scores and comments and aggregates it into an average score for the candidate overall, which the recruiter can see, but not the hiring manager. So the idea is that the hiring manager doesn't go, oh, Josh gave him a 5 out of 5. I'm going to give him a 5 out of 5 too. You want it to be a collaborative scoring system, but everyone having their own idea. So, so you can get a group report with all the scores in it, and you can distribute that afterwards if you wanted to, but at least in the decision-making process, it's their own individual scores without, any bias from anybody else.
Awesome. And speaking of bias, I mean, a lot of people have in the past had reservations around video. I suppose, look, it's possibly a pre-COVID thing more than anything, where, things weren't quite as digitized. We needed to make everything very digitized during that period. And, some people had some reservations around D&I, and you've each touched on that in when you're speaking. Is there like D&I functionality within Vieple? How does that work?
Yeah. Sorry, Jace, do you want to go?
No, I can address this one. Look, it's quite flexible. So the same way that you can have the video interview at any stage of your process, like Josh mentions that he has it as the start, but you can also have it at the next level when you shortlist, or even to your decision making. We've had a government department use the video interview as their final decision on who they're actually going to hire. So that's quite flexible. And the D&I features are also flexible. So if you need to, you can turn off the video and just have an audio only function.
Oh, cool.
You can hide their name, So you're not passing any judgment in regards to their backgrounds, hide their email address and that kind of thing as well. But they're flexible tools. And the thing about Vieple, how Josh is using it is working really well for him, but how other people use it might be different because it's flexible. We can tweak it to whatever you need and however you need it to be used. That's where Amy comes in from a customer success point of view and gives you those right hints and tips that what will work for your business.
Fantastic.
There's also diversity alerts in the system. So if you have a panel of reviewers scoring and, two of them score more than a 2-point difference, it will actually flag that to the recruiter and say that the scoring is quite different here. Maybe you should have a look into this. And it gives you the opportunity to go and probe a bit further. Why did you give this person a 3? Because then they can uncover whether there's any unconscious bias at play. So that's how the diversity alert works. And then, of course, if you've got people who perhaps are dyslexic or need reasonable adjustments to their video interview, then you can just clone the interview and adapt it. So you can give someone longer reading time, or maybe ask the question in text or in video. So you can really customize it to fit a range of different requirements.
Fantastic. Well, anyone out there that's had that reservation, hopefully that's put your mind at ease, because it actually sounds like it's enhancing your D&I strategy more than it,
the hard part. I guess the hard part is getting recruitment teams to get the candidates to identify they need some help. We're all about opting in and not by opting out. We want to rule them into the process.
Of course.
And I think with the communication up front, you can say that, please contact us to let us know if you need adjustments to this process. And, I think you can give them some comfort that instead of me interviewing you and you've got 2 kids, or you like cooking, I like cooking, I end up scoring you a little bit higher in this case, or letting you answer the questions a little bit, prompting you to ask them again. I can actually reassure you that the questions are asked in exactly the same way for everyone with the same time given, and no individual person is kind of putting their spin on it to help you get through.
No, absolutely. I've had another question come through. This one from Joel, actually, and it's probably a good time to ask it. Josh, how often do you have candidates abandon the cart? So I suppose not participate in the video interview after being invited. Do you find that, is it a significant number, or is it rare? Well, does it happen?
Yeah, it certainly does happen. And it happens for a multitude of reasons. Sometimes they find another role elsewhere. They decide to pause their recruitment, search themselves. But certainly, I put in a time parameter on the video, so it must be completed by X date and time. If it's not, I'll then follow up with those candidates to say, look, we've noticed that you've not completed the interview. Was there a particular reason? Do you need an extension of time? And gives them the opportunity to say, look, I found something, or actually the video isn't for me. I'd rather a telephone call. So I'd say 15% of the time, but the numbers that I put onto Vieple have already been sort of shortlisted from that sort of visual vetting. So I'm not putting large numbers per video. It might be a maximum of 12 and a minimum of 3 to 4.
And I mean, I suppose in reality, it's no different to when you don't have that as part of your process. The candidate just doesn't answer the phone, doesn't take your call, right? So it's exactly the same. Yeah, cool.
I think you can work out, when there was very high volumes of applicants, it was kind of handy because, you have people self-selecting out when there's, an extra step, how serious they are about completing the video interview. But, it really depends on the demographic as well. Like we find in the grad space, completion rates of the video interview are up around 85 to 90%. But in the retail space, where people apply for multiple jobs and sort of just take the first one that comes up, then the completion rates are lower, sort of around the 50 to 60% mark. But again, what our retailers have told us is that the quality is so much higher that they're not having any problem with the reduced number coming through of finding great people. So I guess completion rates are only a problem if you're not getting enough great people through the process, if it's turning them off. But if you're doing it well and the candidate experience is good, then you should be still getting the great ones through, and that helps.
The right ones through.
Yeah, and it kind of removes the tire kickers from the process as well. As Amy said, if they're applying for 10 jobs and they only do one video interview, they're invested in that job, so they're the ones that you want to bring through.
Absolutely. Kelly's just done a bit of a follow-up on in terms of the exec level and whether exec candidates would be open to even doing it via this platform. And I might answer that, Kelly. I think, in my experience when I've recruited at that sort of director and above level, I think it's important for them to understand your talent process, because talent is going to be at the forefront of their roles and making sure that, we're bringing the right people into the business. So I think it would be, from my perspective, more a conversation at that level to say, hey, I'd love you to go through our standard talent acquisition process, which includes video interviewing, because I'd like you to experience it and provide me feedback. That's what I would do as a talent acquisition lead. And in my experience, execs are always open to doing that. It might be a little bit different if it's an exec search or it's coming through a search firm or something like that, and they're going through a different process. So that would be my opinion on that. And there's just one more that's... Oh, sorry, do you want to go, Amy?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag sometimes across organisations. Some are nervous about inviting execs, but again, it just comes back to, you're right, telling them about your recruitment process and why. So if you can explain to them why you're using video interviewing, and it's not just to test them how good they are at answering video interview questions, but it's actually a very discreet way for executives to complete interviews without having to take time off work or their busy schedules. Maybe they're interstate or international, so it's much better for them than getting up at 5 a.m. for an interview with you, or you working till 10 o'clock. But also because it speeds up the process and you can share that with other execs on the team without having to schedule another interview and another interview, then, you can explain that to them and say, we don't want to miss out on your great talents and we need to be quick. So we're including video interview as part of the process. And like Josh said, you can always offer them to get in contact if they prefer not to.
Yeah, I think at that level, it's the conversation up front prior, so it's not just something unexpected. And I completely agree. So there is one more that's come through, just in terms of, John's asked whether there's been scientific studies into the reliability of video interviewing.
This one will be me again. We actually did some research with Future of Work Institute with Curtin University. And some of you might be familiar with Patrick Dunlop, does a lot of research. He actually did some with us on candidate experience in the video interview as well. But yeah, he was saying that you can actually make a reliable decision, just like a face-to-face interview, in about 3 minutes of video footage. So it's quite a good predictor of on-the-job success, and it only takes about 3 minutes of watching video footage. So, we always say to our clients, don't make it a laborious process. Don't put 6 or 8 or 10 questions in there. You can probably have 2 to 3 and still get a really good indication of whether you'd like to take them through to the next stage, keeping in mind that it's only part of your recruitment process. It's not the only step. So we have had research in that, and it's a very efficient and reliable way to get to know someone and they're fit for your organisation.
Yeah, for sure. So we've had a lot of questions come through and we've been talking a lot about the candidate experience. So, what do some of your clients do to make sure that experience really is, I guess, optimized for them, for their brand, for their candidate experience and their expectations?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is to consider the demographic that you're hiring and adjust it. So we have everything from, train drivers, store people to, execs, and obviously And sometimes, they're very, very high volume, so they do need, knockout questions and tens of thousands of people to go through a video interview. And other times they can be really more personalised. But the things that came out of the research with the Future of Work Institute about candidate experience is giving them at least 30 seconds to review the question. So we actually had it from 5 up, and we've changed the default now to 30 because we found that people were just leaving it on the default. So one of the recommendations out of that was to make it 30 seconds as a minimum, giving them around 2 minutes to answer so they don't feel too rushed, but at the same time don't feel the need to ramble on to fill in the time. And there are settings like preview in advance. So you can actually let them see the question in advance. And this eases a bit of anxiety about the interview because they know what questions they're going to be asked. And I always say to people, if it's not a sales role or marketing or legal or, something where you really need to see how people can react on the spot, or it's not a technical question where you really don't want to give people time to research, you need to know they know it now, then give them all the help. Let them see the questions so that they're not anxious before the interview. They have time to prepare. You can allow them to re-record their responses. So if they are a little bit unhappy with their first recording, then they can have another shot at it. And the research suggested that, people who do get the opportunity to re-record, only about 40% of them do anyway. And it doesn't seem to affect too much the outcome. There is a little bit where people can, obviously perform better. But necessarily, is that bad? If they get an extra turn and they get an opportunity to put their best foot forward, then then that's great. We're not really testing them on how well they do a video interview. We just want to see the answers to the questions and get to know them a little bit better. And finally, the other thing is adding the video content in, like Josh mentioned before. Having an intro video that explains, thanks for taking part in the video interview process. This is what to expect. This is why we use it. Here's a tip for success. Good luck, and I hope to meet you in person soon. They know that a real person is watching their video, not just some AI technology. And it also helps them to meet some of the team and get to know, showcase your brand a little bit further. And often our clients will either put an existing employee in there as well. So they get to hear from someone real that actually works there. And then maybe the hiring manager asks a question, the recruiter asks another one. And then a little thank you at the end, just letting them know what to expect next. So you stop that post interview anxiety of, I've done it, when am I going to hear from someone? Is it going to be email or phone? So adding that in at the end just lets them know that you've got it and that they'll be in touch soon.
Fantastic. Josh, who do you use for the intro and the follow-up?
Myself.
Yourself?
Myself.
Just wants to be the star of the show.
Yeah, exactly. I'd do the same.
I need the spotlight. But to Amy's point, as we're building out our D&I program within AP Plus, we're moving to a lot more video content where we're having current employees talk about or video recording a job ad. So to have them start to ask questions. So again, kind of within a 5-question interview, you're seeing 5 different team members. It gives that personalization. And when you do come face to face with them, you've already had that rapport, be it one way with them.
Excellent. And I think you could also have, I know Kelly's been mentioning it in the chat box as well, different levels of seniority. I mean, you could have, springing to mind from when I was at Flybuys, I would have knocking down the CEO's door to do part of that video process because I know he would love doing it. So, but I guess for anyone that's out there that's thinking about this, how complex is it to get this all set up? Like, what level of support do you get from the Vieple team, Josh? And how difficult is it to implement? How difficult is it to record those videos, to learn, to, educate your hiring managers? Tell me all about that.
Yeah, look, I have to say, and again, not because Vieple are on the call, their tech team sets the bar for outstanding. be it like customer service. When candidates email me and say I've misplaced the link or it's not working, I'll loop in the support team, and it's never more than 2 hours. The tech team are local, so you get an instantaneous response. They diagnose and rectify the issue. When I've engaged with Amy and my account manager, Haley, it's literally been a 1 hour session on the latest and greatest of Vieple, because I've transitioned from O over to AP Plus a couple of months ago, and implemented the technology when I got here. And it was, by that afternoon, all done and dusted. Jason had the contract ready to go. So it takes all of the, and I'm technophobic, and one of the worst people with technology. So it literally is just the simplest thing to push the button. You're all set up to go. You can re-record your intro multiple times. There's tips and tricks. I can't advocate heavily enough for the tool, and it's my authentic lived experience that it's just amazing. Where others I've used are a little more clunky. And funnily enough, they've not been Australian-based. But I think having the team on the ground and passionate about what they do, and again, providing that sort of outstanding candidate experience and engagement. So, I can't fault the tech team.
Absolutely. And I agree. I'm a big, passionate believer, to the point where I probably annoy people. I say it too much in supporting local for that reason, because not only have you got that immediate support and immediate resolution, but you can also help shape the future of what platforms can look like. Because you're talking very closely, I can imagine, Jason and Amy, with your customers, and they're local and it's tailored for the Australian market, and you can help shape what the future of Vieple could look like in partnership with your clients. So I think supporting Australian technology and having that local support is so important. On the other side, what are the benefits, Amy, or maybe Jason, actually? Jason, I haven't let you talk hardly at all. I'm so sorry, mate. Tell me, we talked about, some of the reasons why candidates might drop off, and, how we could, try and mitigate that risk in terms of communications, etc. But what would be a benefit of a candidate going through this process? If I was a candidate, going through the video interviewing, how could that help me? What's a benefit for me as a candidate?
Well, it's funny you say that. Actually, with a lot of the universities around the country, they use Vieple as a practice tool for their graduates as they come into the graduate space, right? So it's the same way if you, in your previous role at Flybys, the more job interviews you do, the better you become at it. It's the same thing with a job interview and a video interview. So with the universities, they use it as a practice tool. They get ready for the grad space, where they know that a video component is going to be a very big part of the process. They're able to go through that. So it's like anything, once you're prepared for any job interview, you should do the same thing for a video interview with Vieple. Prepare yourself, learn about the company, know what you're going to say, know what the role is you're applied for, just the basic stuff that you should do as a candidate anyway. But this will enhance it anyway when you come through the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think candidates can benefit from the process because it's fair. Like it's the same questions asked of everyone in the same time frame, same amount of time to complete it, which is helpful. And then, I think the speed is good as well. Like I remember before this job, my previous job, I had another offer on the table, and then I still had to meet with the execs for 3 other interviews. And the whole process was blowing out, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And I still had this other offer. And I was like, come on, guys, I'm going to have to take this other job if you don't hurry up. Well, we're having trouble getting all the sales execs together to meet you. And, so I think the speed of decision is a benefit for them too. And again, the fact that it's discreet. I have to take 3 days off work to go and meet someone in an office to interview with them. And I've got young kids. Like I remember I had to take my baby with me to an interview one time. I was like, oh, okay, I can come, but I don't have anyone to look after my baby. I have to bring it. And so things like that can stress a person out. Whereas if I can wait until the baby's asleep and prepare myself and then get online. Again, if you've got a disability, wheelchair access and things like that you have to stress about, doing it in your own comfortable environment where everything's set up for you is going to be a much better experience for the candidate.
Yeah. And do you know what? I want to add to this as well, because I've got an opinion on this. I think when we apply for a position through a standard recruitment process, we've got that one chance to make ourselves shine through a CV. So, and look, let's face it, they generally all look pretty much the same, right? There's not really that opportunity to put your personal flair into a CV. Quite often, if you try to, it'll get corrupted in an ATS, and it will never reach them anyway. I think what is really powerful about video interviewing for candidates is they've got that opportunity to let their personality show, and they've got that opportunity to allow their creativity to show as well. So you really are giving yourself that additional chance in a process. You've got your CV that highlights all of your career experience, achievements, qualifications, etc. But then a video can actually show who you are as a person, and give you that extra opportunity to present yourself and help you get that dream job. Jace, were you about to jump in?
I was going to say that the same way that you introduced us with stuff that was completely non-work related, we generally have that as a practice question to start off with for the candidates. Tell us something that you're passionate about. Tell us what your favorite movie is, something like that, to put them at ease with the process, right? Because the candidate's going to be nervous. It's the job interview, right? It's just natural, right? So people take that into account anyway, okay? So to put them at ease as best as possible, with instructions on their invitation to the video interview, dress appropriately, find a quiet space, all that kind of stuff. And then you'll get them to shine, and you'll be able to make that decision. And as Amy mentioned, at the moment, you've got to keep these candidates super warm, and you've got to move quickly on them, because they'll go if you don't get to them. And this process allows you to get to them quicker. So it does help.
We do have the same Future of Work Institute did some candidate feedback, and 87% of candidates were excited and see it as an opportunity to do the video interview. And our current customer satisfaction rating is 96%. And we have surveyed them and have, really good feedback. And the average response time from the support desk is 8 minutes. So, they seem to be having a pretty good experience in the video interview process.
Fantastic. And Josh, from a candidate side, is it literally you're providing them with a link, they click on that, they hit record, and it's there? Is it that simple?
Yeah.
They don't have a green screen like I've got behind me or anything?
No, it's my previous workplace, Vieple was integrated with the ATS. At the moment, we're going through a new vendor at the moment, so I use Vieple directly on platform, and it's the same thing. They get an invitation with a link. I then send them some comms prior to again explain the process. I give them the link to the Vieple website and encourage them to just check it out a little beforehand, because there's some amazing content and testimonials on their website just to talk through that process probably more succinctly than I can. And then, they click the button. And then I think to Jason's point, my last question on every interview is, you've now got 2 minutes to tell us something really interesting about yourself, or anything that you think we may need to know. And you just see the sigh of relief of, oh, okay, the one thing I wanted to tell you that you didn't ask me about in the question. So, it's a really lovely experience.
Yeah, I feel that. Because I think if I reflect back on times where I've been frustrated that I've applied for roles that I was really interested in, my frustration is like, oh, I didn't even get an interview. I didn't get to tell them how cool I am and how much I really want the role, right? And this gives you that opportunity. So you can walk away from it feeling proud that you've given it your best shot. And I think that's the biggest frustration for a candidate, is when you don't have the opportunity to do that. So I really love this platform. I think that is an awesome candidate experience. And it also, makes your life a lot easier, I imagine, Josh. In finding the right match. Yeah.
And everything, this whole screening process is almost just done offline. So, hiring managers can review in their own time, candidates can do it in their own time. So again, it just frees up everyone. Everyone seems to be time poor. Again, if, we can introduce the video interviewing once somebody's at their, another recruitment process elsewhere, and if it is an arduous 3 or 4 round stage, again, we're a fintech company, so we're changing that landscape across Australia. So we want to be able to partner with tech stacks that also do that. So if somebody's adverse to this type of technology, the reality is they may not be a great fit for us in a particular role. But for us, it's not a one-stop shop. Our dev recruitment is slightly different, and we don't use Vieple for our devs because we use another assessment platform. So, but it's such a wonderful tool.
Awesome. Well, on that note, I've just noticed that we're over. We just love talking Vieple. So I'm going to hand over to you, Jace. Why don't you tell us a little bit how people can get in touch with you? And I know you've got a couple of promos to put out there as well. So
sure. So we've got a brand new promotional video on our website, which will very succinctly in about 90 seconds show you what the video interviewing process is. So please check that out. You can book a demo with me via that website as well. We also have a free trial offer on the vieple.com website. So if you're looking and haven't used it before, I recommend a free trial. And the other option is obviously if you need to reach out and contact Amy or myself, our details on LinkedIn, and happy to answer any of your questions that go through that process.
Fantastic. And if you get through that process as well, Jason is offering a discount for anyone that mentions Rubberband. But if you wanted to reach out to Josh or myself for any more information as well, prior to talking to the Vieple guys, we're available to chat. So just shoot us a message on LinkedIn. As Jason said, reach out to Jason or Amy if you are keen to see a demo. Jump on vieple.com. I will put those details in the Rubberband page as well, both on Facebook and LinkedIn. But finally, thank you, panel. This was great. And thank you, audience, for all the really great questions today as well. So lots of interaction, lots of interest in video interviewing. So yeah, wonderful. So Josh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And Amy and Jason, amazing example of local tech that's really going great guns and continues to grow. So we're really excited to continue supporting through Rubberband. Thank you so much for your support for our community as well.
Thank you so much, Edan, and thank you, Josh.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us, Edan. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. And thanks everyone out there in LinkedIn universe. We'll see you next week. Well, you'll see me next week. But hopefully you'll see Amy and Jason as well. See you. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.